Hello and welcome to a new video. This week I am doing the first time tag, and this is not what you think. Don't run away, I'll not tell you about that. If you're watching a lot of YouTube videos, you will have watched this tag before. It's a very old one, but I've never done it, and I thought it would be a lovely way for you to find out more about me. And my battery is already flashing. That's a good start. So I've got a new battery in. Don't know how long it will last, but hopefully we can get through to the end of this video without having to change yet another time. So the first question, it was what was my first tweet, and you will see it down there. Very boring, I know, but that was it. Second question is, what was my first YouTube video? I think it was a family vlog, like a weekly one. I am not entirely sure, but I will include a link in the description box if you want to watch it. It's still up for sure. The first person I subscribed to on YouTube, this is somebody who at the time was called Mischievous, and she is now called Julia Graf. She is a makeup, well, she's not a makeup artist, but she does makeup videos mostly, and she lives in Switzerland, and she's half Canadian, half German, and she's married to a guy who is Swiss, and they live in Switzerland. And I started watching her videos for crazy YouTube, obviously it was on YouTube, crazy makeup tutorials. She is really good. I still watch her videos now, and I absolutely love what she does. She's the person who really got me into liking YouTube at the start. Next one is my first Facebook profile pic, so I will include it somewhere here. It was on St. Patrick's Day in 2007, and fun fact about this, it was a Saturday between my first date with James. The Saturday before that was my first date with James, and the Saturday after that was my second date with James when we started to go out, and you know the rest of the story. Then do I still talk to my first love? Okay, this is going to depend on what you describe as first love. The first person I loved as a child, as in my boyfriend in primary school when I was about 8 or something. No, although I am friend with him on Facebook, we don't really talk. We kind of asked each other what we became, and that was it. As for my first like serious relationship that I was really involved in, yes, I do. He's one of my best friends, and I still do. Then what was my first alcoholic drink? Right, well, I don't drink. That's the thing. I couldn't even tell you what the first one was. I have tried wine as a child, because in France, whenever you're a child, you're allowed to have like a tiny drop of wine with a lot of water in it. It is absolutely disgusting, but you feel like a grown-up when you do it. So it probably would be that when I was small and my granddad just put a little bit of red wine in that, or maybe champagne. I wouldn't be able to tell you. The only one I can drink and I actually do like is cider, but to be honest I would prefer non-alcoholic cider because I just don't like the taste of alcohol, and people tell me you just need to get used to it, but I can have fun without it, so I don't really want to learn to like something which is not that good for you. So this is why I just don't like it. What was my first job? I was working in a summer camp, and I was probably about 16 or 17, and I was a summer camp kids supervisor in the Alps in France, and the kids did look older than me because they were, first camp was, they were 10 to 12 years old girls, and a lot of them did wear makeup, and I never wore makeup at that stage, and I did look about 8 or 9. Really? No, I didn't really, but I did look really young, and most of them were just looking older than me, so it was a very interesting experience. So much that the second stay, the next 2 weeks, that was for the first 2 weeks, the next 2 weeks the manager decided to put me with a 6 to 8 years old, and I loved it then. But I have to admit I didn't really like the first one because I just didn't really enjoy it. Anyway, my first car I got in 2010. After our wedding, we got money for the wedding. We didn't do any kind of gift list or anything. We had a box where people could put money they wanted to, and with some of that money we bought a little car which we had until 2 years ago, which was a Citroen C3, and it was red, and I really liked it. What was the first person to text you today? It was my friend Therese, which is extremely interesting for you as you do not know who she is. Moving on, the next question is, who was the first person you thought of this morning? And it was Eoghan and Alfie together because I could hear them talk. So that's how it was. Who was your first grade teacher? I would love to answer this question, but I have no clue what first grade is. Is that the first school year? If it was the first school year, I had a teacher called Madame Gajas. I was in France, if you don't know, and she got sick, and then we got a girl who stepped in like a sub teacher, and she was evil. She was called Madame Jolie, which is a lovely name, but she wasn't anything apart from Jolie. She was an evil creature who came here to make our life very difficult. We were not allowed to go to the bathroom. We had to pay her in right, let me explain the system. In France, whenever, at the time, in the olden days, you were getting, when you were good in school, you were getting a little, it looked like a little stamp. It was called bon point, which means literally good point. And when you had 10 of them, you could get what we call grandes images, which means big image, which was actually a little image like that with a very boring subject on it, like a boat or an animal or something. But we worked so hard to get these. And having to pay, you had to pay her with what you had earned before, and it was horrible. She was an evil woman. I hated her. I really hated her. Anyway, where did you go on your first ride on an airplane? I went to Skerries. Well, I flew to Dublin and I went to a village called Skerries, which is in Ireland and is not far from Dublin. Who was your first best friend and do you still talk? My first best friend was, so I am told, in preschool, a little girl called Sophie, and I have no clue who she is now. My second best friend was in primary school, a girl called Armel, and I have her on Facebook, and we do sometimes just comment on each other's pictures, but we don't exactly talk a lot. But if we met each other, we would talk for quite a while, probably. Then, where was your first sleepover? It probably would have been, now, I expect this means with friends, not just with with family. My first sleepover probably would have been with my cousin. My cousin is about 9 months older than me, and we kind of grew up together, and we used to go and sleep to his house, and then he would come to my house. And our sisters are like very close in age too, so it used to be 2 of us going one in one house and the 2 other in the other house, and we would switch around, and it was a lot of fun. Apart from that, it probably would have been my friend I was telling you about from primary school. I would say. Probably not. I'm not 100% sure. I cannot guarantee this information, but I don't think it will change your life whether it's completely accurate or not. What was the first thing you did this morning? Apart from peeing, which I will not include because it's not very interesting, it was playing with Alfie on the ground. Yeah, like a mental person, crawling all over the place to try and chase him while he was crawling. That was what I did. What was the first concert you ever went to? It was the concert of a woman called Dorothée, picture included, who in the 80s and in the early 90s was a very famous woman for children in France. She had a TV show called Club Dorothée, and there was a lot of Japanese cartoons shown in it, and I used to watch it in the mornings. And she also was a singer, a really bad one, but she was actually a singer and selling a lot of tapes. At the time they were tapes, and I actually had a lot of her tapes, and I still do know most of the lyrics of her songs. She was my childhood icon, and I love that woman. Even if she was a rubbish singer, I only realize it now, but she was amazing. In my heart, she will remain amazing. Hello. It's actually much later on, and you might notice it's a bit darker. There's more artificial lighting, and my makeup is half gone. It's actually quite a few hours later since I started filming the beginning of that video, and I literally press play, like record, and I heard Eoghan saying to me, "Mommy, Alfie was sick and I didn't need your help." So I think I'm not meant to film this video, but I'm going to push through and get through the end of it. So the next question is, what was my first piercing? Oh, actually, did I answer what was my first broken bone? I think I was answering that question whenever it stopped. First broken bone was my wrist. I broke my 2 wrists quite a few times. The first time, I think the first time it was in the bus, on the bus. There was some people fighting in the bus. I was at the back of the bus in the part where you're standing in, and somebody was, basically one of the guys that was fighting was pushed on me, and I was holding my wrist was holding a horizontal bar, and when he pushed it just went and broke that way. It was very bad. I think that was the first time it actually broke. I did sprain my wrists before that, but the first broken one was that. First piercing. So when I was, I think it's for my 6th birthday, I asked, or 7th, 6th or 7th, I asked my parents if I could get my ear pierced because I wanted to wear some earrings. So that's when I got the first hole in my ears. Then later on I ended up with 3 holes in my ears, and I also had my cartilage pierced on this side, this one. But there's only 1 hole now that's working in my ears. The other ones are absolutely blocked. First foreign country you've gone to. I'm going to talk about the first one I remember going to, because before that I could have gone to places with my parents as a small child, but I can't remember. The first one would be Italy. Where I come from in France is very close to the Italian border, and I went on several school trips there, and yeah, I think it would be the first trip I really remember. Definitely the first trips on my own without my parents, either as school trips abroad or as like summer camp kind of thing, were all in Italy. Then first movie you remember seeing. I remember going to the cinema to see Cinderella. I remember going to see Hook, but that was probably after. I think Cinderella might have been the first. I don't know if it was the first one I can remember anyway. When was your first detention? Okay, I've never had a detention ever in my life, but in France you go first for 4 years to junior high school, and then for 3 years to senior high school. And in junior high school, I remember in the last year I was thinking, I need to go with a couple of friends who had never had detention either. We thought we would really need to go away from the school with at least 1 detention. And so we decided on the last week. There are some supervisors now. They wouldn't be teachers, but for example, if in your schedule, the way the French school system works is very differently, but sometimes you would have like an hour in your schedule that is free with no classes. So you would go to your room, which is like a study room, and the people who supervise there are usually university students who have as a job to supervise there. They also supervise in the playground in between classes when children are going from room to make sure everything goes smoothly. And we thought we'd just attack one of them with a water bomb, you know, those balloons kind of thing. And it ended up in a water fight between kids, and 2 of those actually asked us to stay at the end to have a proper water fight. Now the principal probably didn't know about that, but we had to beg them to get a detention because they wouldn't give it to us because they found it funny, and we were kind, you know, we didn't really do anything too bad, but yeah, that's how I tried to have one. So I never actually have attended detention, but I have a little note in my book that says I had detention. You used to have it was like a book with like 2 parts of perforated paper, and you would have like the detention and the reason, and then when you go and attend your detention, they rip off like the part, like a detachable part, and I have it without the thing ripped, so I haven't attended it, but I did try my best, really did try my best. Who was your first roommate? First time I moved out of my parents was whenever I moved to Ireland, and I had quite a few roommates. I left France with one of my friends from France, so he was living in the house with us. We also had, there was a Polish guy living in the house with us, and there was a family from the Philippines where there was a mommy, a daddy, and a little boy who was 4 or 5 at the time, and the mommy was very pregnant, and then they had a baby. So this was a crazy house, but I absolutely loved it. And then if you had one wish, what would it be? I'm going to be a little bit boring, I guess. I wish I could, for the rest of my life, live from my creations and my little business and why not earn some money from my channel as well, to have the two. I wish I could do what I love in general, whatever that is. At the moment it is doing my videos and doing my creations, so yeah, continue to be able to live with doing what I love. What was the first sport you've ever involved in? That would have been dancing. I started dancing when I was 4, I think. 4? Yeah, probably 4. And I did dancing for quite a few years, until I was actually in senior high school, so that's quite a long time altogether, and I took it up again as an adult to do ballet classes. What is the first thing you do when you get home? Take my shoes off. Even before I take my coat off, the first thing I do is my shoes off. If you know me and you've been in my house, or if you've noticed from my vlogs, I very, very rarely wear shoes, apart from when I have to. Most of the time I don't even wear socks either, because I like to have my feet in contact with the ground as much as possible. So first thing I do every time, take my shoes off. When was your first kiss? This is the last answer. If you consider the first actual kiss, would have been somewhere in primary school, at the end of primary school. Yeah. Funny story about that. When you were in primary school, in my school, there was a place that was kind of enclosed where you had all the sinks to that were beside the toilets, and the tradition wanted that whenever you had a boyfriend, which was extremely serious at the time, whenever you were moving on in your relationship, going to the next step, all your friends would go and grab that boy and tell him it's time to go and kiss. And you would go to that sink area in your school and you would kiss and run off in like different directions. And when I think about it now, I'm thinking sounds absolutely ridiculous, but it was fun at the time. But I had a boyfriend for actually 2 years, which is quite amazing for that age. And I never did the kissing thing until one day, I remember I was just standing there with my friends and he ran past me and he threw me. It was a key ring with a little pink teddy bear on it, and it was attached in a photograph of him. At the back of the photograph he wrote down, and this is literate translation: "Now that it's getting serious, do you think we should inform our parents about our relationship?" And I was thinking, oh, this guy is serious, I'm gonna do the kissing thing. So I got all my friends to go and get that boy and tell him it's time to kiss and all that, and he said he didn't want to kiss until he was in high school. So I ended the relationship, and I was about 8 or 9 maybe. Oh, no, actually no, 10. It was about 10. And because of that, I just thought, well, if he doesn't want to do the kissing thing, which is what you do, bye. I was that girl at some point. It has changed a lot since. And so I ended up kissing another guy the next year that I didn't really care about. I was actually, at the time, I thought I was really in love with that first boyfriend for those 2 years. We were like proper relationship, you know. But anyway, so that was the story of the first kiss, which was absolutely memorable, so much that I had to think about 20 minutes to remember the name of that guy. Anyway, this is the end of this video. I managed it. I did it. I'm sorry it is completely insane and interrupted and all that. This is exactly how it happened, and I'm thinking I'm just gonna leave it like that, because this is what my life is like. It just gets interrupted all the time. I'll see you next week for another video, and in the meantime, if you want to follow my vlogs, they are up on my channel at 5 PM every night. But otherwise, I will see you next Thursday at 10. Bye!